Hey everyone, we're here on Cyrene, and that means a little bit of tree cutting for us always, as we're still trying to get to that next unlock. But a couple things have happened since the last time we've tree cutted here. The first, you'll notice there are no pink trees anymore. They fixed that. And then the other thing they fixed, you'll notice on this tool, the uses per minute is back to 22. That being said, Cyrene's still an excellent place to work these skills up. And so anytime we're here, I like to use a skill pill if I have it and hit up a bunch of trees. Because again, these looter skills are relatively expensive to come by, or well, expensive. Whether you buy them from the auction house or try to obtain them some other way, the costs are definitely much higher than tree cutting, which is 5 pet a tool, and you get 95% of that back on average. But the skills we're talking about are the zoology here, the biology, the analysis is big into all of them. The genetics we just got is good for the mutant looter profession. Plus, we got to work on this weekly quest that Cyrene has. It's called You're a Lumberjack Now. And it is at one of these Tan Hawk teleporters. This one, I believe, the immigration one, is where you find the NPC to start that. When you finish it, it actually just gives you a blueprint into your inventory. And the zoology and the biology are kind of expensive to work up any other way. I think it's just pet taming or scanning, both of which can be kind of expensive. And I'd like to keep a level 3 tool just for when we find these huge trees. So once we collect enough, we'll do a furniture run again. Although we might take it to Tolan. They put a new crafting quest in there uh, for the basic butt joint specifically. And it gives coloring skill, which is something we don't really have any of. And so if we're going to run it anyway, we might do that. I like doing it here to attempt to get the little plush doll things that are used in the upgrades. And we have most of them already, but we're missing a couple. And so that's always a temptation for us, is to go on a little bit of a blueprint hunt with it. And I like to hit this area up. This is the best tree cutting area I've found. The area in hell comes close, but I think this one wins out. There's a little bit of perception, which is a looter skill as well, as and alertness and analysis, like we talked about already. The alertness is kind of a cheap skill, um, but we kind of get it as a byproduct. So while we're working up all those other skills that aren't so cheap, we're gonna get a bunch of that one as well, which will help push our looter level up a little bit. And every level we're able to push that up is a little bit extra loot on every hunt from there on out. And so it's kind of nice to do it in a more eco manner. And so the trade terminal tools here, comboed with some skill pills, tends to get you pretty far until you start getting up there, and then obviously the progress slows down, but it's still cheap per 1%. The time you have to put in is different though, and so you'll just have to spend more and more time uh, going this route. And at some point, you obviously have to backfill with the main skill, the skinning and the butchering, or it's reaping. And so at some point, you have to go get these other ones. But this is a nice, cheap way to backfill so that these other skills aren't dragging your level down, so to speak. For example, if your skinning's up in the 5,000 zone, but everything else is down in like the 3,000 zone, you'll only be sitting in the level 40-ish zone. Um, and so you're a little out of balance. And so I try to backfill so that we don't have that gap be as large. I think we're always going to be a little out of balance. But the goal is to not have it being so overwhelming, I think. And we're not trying to have to buy a ton of zoology at 4,000% markup or analysis at the same. Biology is expensive as well. That's just not in the wallet. Ooh, grab that one first. Well, it looks like that guy's here to do some tree cutting as well, maybe. Or he's coming back from the one of those robot that give the badges, the little boss mobs that Cyrene put in at one point. But they did slow the uses per minute, and so that definitely kind of slows down our skill gain a little bit. But it put it back in line with the rest of all the tools from all the other planets. And so we kind of knew that was going to happen eventually. We were hoping to capitalize on it a little more before it did. But we were able to get a bunch of levels while it was at that 50% bonus. And I see this other person, and so they're probably going to go this way. And so I think we're just going to try and shoot across to these other islands, maybe. And hope there's not someone there. And it looks like he's already run up the mountainside there. So you can see the trees are still packed pretty densely. We have to work to find them a little bit more than we have in the past, but it's very similar to hell now. I think these tools are still somehow better a little bit. We were getting about 0.7, 0.8%, or the amount of uh, we can turn over in an hour might be slightly higher in hell, or here compared to hell. Just because of the density of the trees, maybe. Not 100% on that. But on an hour skill pill, before we would get about 0.8%. Here we get about right around 1%. And so that's kind of a significant jump. Um, I mean, it's still a long time before we get to the next level, but there's a little bit of biology. And so those skills are still pretty slow. Even on a full hour run, we only get like maybe 4 points at this point. Um, but it all adds up pretty quickly. Like I said, we're getting about 1% um, every time we do this. At level 42, I think it is. Um, but we're just trying to rebalance a little bit. Our skinning's up there. Our butchering's getting up there, and it's starting to outpace all of our sub skills here. And so we're trying to backfill our biology, our zoology. And those are the two main ones. Our analysis is pretty solid and in line with where our level is. But it's nice to boost it a little higher as well. And it looks like we're going to break this first tool before we even get out of this little entry area where we teleported in. Gonna try and grab that huge one next. Stockpile those uh, longboards. Then we'll switch back and break that tool, and then move on. There's the one I missed. The downside to this area being the best area is that sometimes there's a fair amount of people here. I ran into 4 or 5. And it was still reasonably good skilling, despite that. Um, but obviously there's a little bit more running time between trees when there's that many people. Oh, and we'll get a little bit of athletics and geology, and so that'll boost our evader level a smidgen, and geology is helping us to break into mining a little bit. We actually got a fair amount of huge trees already today. That's kind of nice. I think that one's a respawn. We'll grab it though on our little circle and scoot out onto the next area. And so we saw that other person go this way, and so we're gonna go up that way, I think, is the plan. And there's no unlocks with this resource gatherer profession either. Although I'm always excited when we work it up a little bit. And you can see my analysis has kind of outpaced my zoology and biology and whatnot. And it just shows you how good tree cutting is for that specific skill. Oh, yep. And because we're using tools, our intelligence is going to go up. making us slightly less dumb. And since your intelligence plays into the looter profession, um, that's always kind of a nice little bonus as well. The other thing that doing these small tree cutting runs does for us is because they pulled nanocubes off the trade terminal, you have to have something recyclable to get that. And we can trade in the wood shavings and the small boards and whatnot for the nanocubes we use for our EP runs and our little component blueprint hunts that we like to do. No, I feel our situation is kind of unique with the wood to nanocubes being a direct benefit, and we're going to use both. Most EP crafters are using much higher level blueprints. I like to run the one, maybe the two if I'm feeling spunky. But it does give people who want to tree cut for skills a way to at least get that 100.5 to 101%. I think that's kind of where the markup is right now for those items that they would otherwise just have to trade terminal back. Grab this one up here first. And we're doing it this way because it's the most cost-effective way, we feel. If we were just after the skills, obviously we would just have a bunch of level 3 tools, and we would just be, or level 4 tools if you're going all in, and can find them. Those can be tricky to track down sometimes, and the markup can be kind of high. But if cost isn't an object, the more you dump in, the more you're going to get out in skills. I just like the 90-ish% return. We can almost guarantee doing it this way. We're getting a pretty good amount of biology today, which is kind of nice. And there's a quest to get a little bit of biology for some of the muscle B compound, I think it is. But the skill you get is amount is pretty low. It's the equivalent of 3 of our skill ups here in biology is actually worth more than that turn in. Oh no, for sure the skilling's definitely slower. We're only breaking 4 tools over an hour now, compared to 6 is what we were getting before. And so the amount we're spending on level 1 tools per hour is just different. So the skills are obviously good in and out, or it's going to be different. Um, no way around that. But the skills are still good, and this is still probably the best place that most people are going to have access to be able to get. Oh, there's a huge one. We should go gather those big boards for ourselves. Alright, we're going to keep going. No, we'll stockpile a bunch of those, and then when we're ready, we'll use that level 3 tool to pull the prerequisite number of large boards. And then we'll worry about the small boards. They're literally the least of our concern. Outside, we'll need a lot of them. And we can use the level 3 tool if we're in a hurry. We'll get up to 10 per pole. Or we can just use it as a skilling opportunity and just kind of grind out a large amount of these level 1 tools. We'll see how we're feeling. Maybe it'll be a mix. I want to pretend I'm hardcore enough to grind through 40 tools, but then I get 25 in, and I'm like, well, let's wrap this up. And I grab out the big tool and just kind of churn out the rest. Again, we'll just see how that plays out. Yeah, it's a little more challenging finding the next tree, but we weren't so accustomed to it we can't adapt. Especially with our every couple of months going to Rocktopia and doing a run on Hell. It's just kind of back to normal. Now, we've cut down so many trees in this game that one of two things will happen. One day, we will own a land area where you can cut trees down, or we'll never want to see another tree again. I'm leaning towards option A right now, but I feel like it's going to be one extreme or the other. We're going to head a little more east, I think. I think it's that next little peninsula that connects out to those islands. So I think this is the one that connects over to the next island. It looks like we're about to break this next tool. And so we're keeping on about 15 minutes a tool, which is kind of nice. It just shows you how densely packed this fort is. Otherwise, we'd waste a bunch of time running around trying to find the next tree. Here's that bridge I was thinking was here. And most of our time is just spent cutting. Oh, nice, a double stat boost. I mean, it is only 3/10,000ths of a stat, but every little bit adds into that next one. Plus, all stats are hit point boosting. I think intelligence is 1 hit point per 80, so the tiniest amount of a hit point right there. Well, we missed a couple, so we're going to go back and grab those real fast before we move forward. It looks like this one's the last one on this island. And so we'll have to use this bridge to go across to this other area. Oh, there is one more. Then we'll use the bridge. Yeah, we got a good chunk to go on this tool. And I'm really excited for them to do something with that gardener profession. Every time it little pops up, it kind of reminds me. And they did issue plot deeds when they moved the CLDs onto the exchange. So maybe one day. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Probably starting to get overburdened. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's all right. We're in the last little bit of this, so we'll just go ahead and write it out. Normally, we'd throw some of our gathered materials in a vehicle, slap it down so it wasn't on us anymore, which would help free up our weight capacity a little bit. I didn't mention, we do get some dex here. Our dex is pretty high because we select it often from Codex rewards, as well as the daily here on Cyrene for the kill 200 points of, or 100 points of Merfolken. I think it's 100, but it might be 200. Anyway, small kill count gives a little bit of a dex reward. And that's actually going to break our final tool with about 35 seconds to spare, so about perfect timing there. I hope that everyone is having an amazing day. Stay epic.